I'm Liz Fust. I'm the founder of Gathering Strength, and this is financial wellness for people with disabilities. And here's the agenda. We're going to start with Nancy Buteau from the National Disability Institute, then Louisville Metro Office of Financial Empowerment financial coaches, Siobhan DePasha and Joey Cecil, and then we're going to talk about resources after that. So I am going to introduce Nancy. Nancy, can we spotlight you?
Sure.
All right. So Nancy Buteau is a manager of financial empowerment at the National Disability Institute. NDI is committed to building a better financial future for people with disabilities and their families. Nancy is the lead technical assistant for several state and national initiatives that provide financial education, employment, and capacity building services to people with disabilities and their communities. Nancy has a Master of Science in Psychiatric Rehabilitation. She is a certified community partner work incentives coordinator and a certified financial counselor. And we are grateful that she is here with us today. And so Nancy, why don't you take it away?
Thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate that introduction. So a little bit about NDI. We are the first national organization that's committed exclusively to championing economic empowerment, financial education, asset development, and financial stability for all persons with disabilities. And we've been doing that for the past 19 years. Sorry about that typo. So our mission is to collaborate and innovate with diverse partners in the disability community, as well as public and private sectors, to improve informed financial decision-making and financial health for people with disabilities nationwide. And there is our website, nationaldisabilityinstitute.org, if you'd like any more information. And we can go on to the next slide.
Whoops. Sorry, Nancy.
Take your time.
There we go.
So I'm going to do a little bit of a national perspective before we hear from the folks from Louisville. So what I want to point out here is if you look at the middle, the center line, it's red, you'll see individuals from ages 18 to 64 years old. And what we're going to see here, that disability is the largest minority group in our country. And we see that 20.5 million individuals, adults in that category, have disabilities, which is 12.6% of the total US population. Again, just in the areas of age range 18 to 64. So as you can see, a very large number. We can go on to the next slide. And of course, that carries over into various areas, including the net worth of households. So when we look at the net worth of households with a disability, you can see how the net worth of those households drops dramatically, especially for those marginalized groups. For instance, if you look at Black households with a disability, you can see that their net worth is $1,282, a very, very low number. Next slide, please. When we look at poverty and disability, we see that disability is both a cause and a consequence of poverty, and that poverty and disability really do reinforce each other, contributing to increased vulnerability and exclusion. So what you see here is that people with disabilities experience poverty at a much higher rate than people without disabilities. So individuals without disabilities, roughly 10.3%. And then if you look at individuals with disabilities, we're looking at 25%, a quarter of the population. And we can go on to the next slide. So what we see is that people with disabilities who are Black, Indigenous, Latino, Latinx, have higher poverty rates than people with disabilities who are white. Overall, poverty is pervasive in the disability community. And then lastly, our last slide, I just want to talk a little bit about banking. The percentage of unbanked households, and we determine unbanked households as those households where no person in the household has a bank account, is more than 3 times higher than households without a disability. So the percentage of unbanked households is 2.5 times higher in Black households with a disability, with 28.5%, and almost twice as high in Latinx households with disability at 22.2%. So we just wanted to provide you some national statistics before getting into the meat of our presentation. However, I am very happy now to turn it over to Joey Cecil from Louisville Metro Office of Financial Empowerment, who is going to get into the meat of our discussion today. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. I'm going to introduce Joseph Cecil. He is a financial coach with the Louisville Metro Office of Financial Empowerment. He has 10 years of experience providing citizens with the knowledge they need to take control of their financial potential. He coordinates the Bank On Louisville initiative and the Community Financial Empowerment Certification Program. He is a certified credit counselor and has a master's degree in public administration. Joey, thanks for being with us, and we look forward to what you have to tell us.
Yes, thank you, Liz. Thank you for the great introduction. As mentioned, my name is Joey Cecil with the Office of Financial Empowerment with the Louisville Metro government. Our office works to equip residents with the knowledge, skills, and access to achieve greater financial security. So as mentioned, some of the programs we help coordinate and offer include Bank On Louisville, which I'll be going over a little bit about today. The certification program, which helps to work with frontline social service staff to equip them with the knowledge, skills, and resources to assist the people they serve, as well as offering financial coaching services through our team. And recently in the last year, we've been working with NDI to help bring coaching services and resources to individuals with disabilities across our community. We are part of the Office of Resilience and Community Services, which is the social service arm of Louisville Metro government. So for our agenda for financial empowerment and education today, we will be going over banking, saving, credit, budgeting, and debt. So Liz, you can go to the next slide, please. So we'll start off with some banking information. A bank or credit union account is a key tool to becoming financially stable. Being banked means your money is in a safe place and you will not be paying expensive fees to access it. We say expensive because over a lifetime, being unbanked can cost you up to $40,000 just to access your money. And without a bank account, we're not going to have that relationship to access other products and services to help us reach our goals and to be financially stable. But a key goal and end outcome of a bank account is safety. If you keep your money at home, you're more likely to be a victim of crime or emergency. So having that banking relationship is a very key component to being financially stable. So next slide, please, Liz. So the two main types of financial institutions are banks and credit unions. A bank is a for-profit business. When you go there to get a service or product, you are a customer. A credit union is a nonprofit. That's where members combine their resources. So when you join a product, when you purchase a product or service at a credit union, you become a member of that credit union. And at many credit unions, that means you own a small portion of it. But some credit unions, you actually do need to qualify in order to be a member. There are not a ton of those, but they do exist out there. All right, Liz, next slide, please. So they also have advantages and disadvantages, and they tend to play off each other. the advantages of one type will be the disadvantages of the other. So with banks, the advantage is more. They're going to have more branches and ATMs and more products and more services. That's because they have more resources, AKA money. That means the disadvantages of picking a credit union are less branches and less ATMs and less products and less services. So you might be asking, why would I even pick a credit union? Well, because of that smaller size, they often tend to handle customer service better. And because they have less fees and the fees they do have cost less, because remember, they're a nonprofit. So that means the disadvantages of picking a bank, customer service can be a little tougher, and they're going to have more fees, and the fees are going to be less in your favor. Next slide, please. So in terms of the accounts you can get at these financial institutions, a checking account, that is our everyday money account. Money comes in, money goes out. This is how we pay for things. There's not going to be an interest rate normally because money is not meant to stay here. You know, this is where you're going to use your cards and your checks. And this is also where usually the fees and requirements are too. A savings account, it's in the name. Money is meant to be stored here. That's why you're going to have an interest rate as an incentive to keep your money there. Most savings accounts will also have a limit on the number of transactions you can make. And some credit unions may not even give you a debit card for their savings account. They'll give you a member's card, which looks like a business card. Also, just know prepaid cards are not debit cards. They're not linked to a bank or a credit union. They have tons of fees and they will nickel and dime you out of your money. All right, Liz, next slide, please. So as I mentioned, Bank On Louisville. Bank On is a nationwide movement to help get people connected to what are called the certified accounts. These accounts meet national standards of safety, affordability, and functionality. So what makes something certified? Well, the opening deposit cannot cost you more than $25. The monthly maintenance fee cannot be more than $10. And if it's more than $5, you have to be given a way to get it forgiven. But the biggest factor is that overdraft is not possible. So that is normally these accounts are checkless, meaning checks will not be a part of the account, or there just isn't an overdraft fee. All right, Liz, next slide, please. So here in Louisville, here are the certified accounts that are possible. You can see on the screen here all the different institutions that offer them. If you're interested in any of these accounts, you will need to ask for that name specifically on the screen. If you go in and ask for a certified account, they may not know what you're talking about. You can also get an up-to-date list on who's offering a certified account in the city by going to our website here on the screen. All right, next slide, please, Liz. Now we're going to give a little information on saving. So why do people save money? Well, we have goals. We want to build wealth. You know, we want to cover times when there's less money available. So should there be a priority to how you save? The number one reason to save is that emergency fund. At any time, you should have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up. Next, we should always be saving for retirement. Every year, we should be contributing at least 15% of our income towards retirement. And then once you've got those two covered, then we look at goals and assets and everything else. Liz, next slide, please. So you should have more than one account. Having a single savings account, but multiple goals and reasons to save can mean you have a kind of sort of feel on where you are with your savings goals. Ideally, you should have 3 separate accounts. There's always the emergency savings, the retirement savings, and then your general savings. So if you are like me, you've said the phrase, when I'm done paying everything I need to pay this month, I'm saving everything else. But then what happens? We spend everything. So that's why you should pay yourself first. Before you send money out to anyone or anything else, set aside some money to save. This does not mean the whole check, half the check, just something before you pay anyone else. And use that tax refund. Most people, the tax refund is the single biggest infusion of cash each year. But how many of us see it as a gift? We want to spend it on ourselves. Instead, let's use it to set ourselves up. All right, Liz, next slide, please. So, you may have heard savings plans and they may sound complex and scary, but really they're very simple. All we need is the reason we're saving, the amount of money we need, and the time frame. So you see here, we've got the total amount needed. What's the time frame? How are we going to find that money? And where are we going to put it? And break it down as short term as possible. It's much more achievable and realistic that way. All right, next slide, please, Liz. So ABLE accounts are savings accounts for individuals with disabilities that will not count against the $2,000 asset limit. Eligibility is limited to individuals with disabilities that had an age of onset before turning 26 years old. For the state of Kentucky, individuals can save up to $17,000 each year in what are called stable accounts. That is the Kentucky version. That money saved up can be used for qualifying expenses, such as everyday needs or unexpected events. Things like living expenses, transportation, education, technology, and the list goes on. All right, Liz, next slide, please. So now we'll be getting into some information on credit. So credit can be confusing because we hear it and see it everywhere. Credit can mean a product like a loan or a credit card, but my favorite definition of credit is get now, pay later. So some terms to know that the credit world is going to throw at you. The money we take out for like a loan is the principal. Whoever is extending us credit is the lender. And how long we take the money out for is the term. So for instance, most home loans are 15 or 30 years. That would be the term. So a key thing to figure out in the credit world is interest. This is the price you pay to borrow money. Interest can be fixed, which means it stays the same unless you decide to change it. Or it can be variable, which just means it changes and it can change. please realize interest is how people make money in the credit world. So think of it this way. If I loaned you $500 at 0 interest, I didn't make anything once you pay me back. But if I loan you $500 at any kind of interest, I'm going to make some money back. So next slide, please, Liz. So there are 2 main types of credit. Installment credit tend to be loans. This is where you are approved for a specific amount of money over a specific period of time. Nothing tends to change unless you decide to renegotiate. Revolving credit is where you are approved for a money amount you can spend up to each month. What you owe each month depends on how much you spent. Credit can also be secured or unsecured. A secured line of credit means you pledge something up against it. Normally, it's what you're trying to get. Unsecured lines of credit is just your goodwill and faith to pay them back. You don't pledge anything up against it. All right, next slide, please. So who is checking credit today? The short answer is everybody. The longer answer is, housing. Anything to do with housing, they're going to check your credit. Applying to get a home, applying to rent, they're going to check your credit. Trying to buy a car, getting car insurance. Many employers have turned to credit checks as part of the application process. Even cell phone companies can do credit checks. And of course, if you try to access a financial product, they're going to do a credit check. All right, next slide, please, Liz. So a credit report is your use of credit. You get 1 free credit report each year by law. That website to go to is up on the screen, annualcreditreport.com. And you get 1 free report from each of the 3 credit bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Now, please know your credit report is not a complete history of your use of credit. It is a 7-year snapshot in time. So as you close or pay off a line of credit, it will disappear from your credit report within 7 years, good or bad. All right, Liz, next slide, please. So if you go through the website, annualcreditreport.com, you can download it to your computer, and it will look something like this. It'll download as a PDF. So you're going to have some identifying information there, some previous addresses, some employment information, but the first credit-related section is at the bottom of that page, public record information. If there's nothing listed here, that is not a problem. Public record information are things like bankruptcies, tax liens, judgments. So if there's no information there, that is not a problem. All right, next slide, please. Thank you, Liz. The next credit section is collections. Hopefully there's no information here. So collections accounts will stay on your credit report until they are resolved. Only once they are resolved and closed does that 7-year clock start on it disappearing. If there is something listed under collections, it is important to understand the last time it was verified. This means someone contacted the credit bureau saying, yes, I'm looking for money from this person. If a collections account on a credit report goes more than 7 years without it being verified, you have the right to say, I want it taken off. The next credit section are the trades. These are just open accounts you currently have or closed accounts that have not rotated off yet. These could be credit cards you currently have that are open, or a credit card you've closed, or a loan you're paying back, or one that you're still waiting to rotate off. The final area are the credit checks. There are two types. The soft credit check has nothing to do with you accessing credit and does not impact your credit score at all. You checking your credit is a soft credit check. An employer is a soft credit check. A hard credit check is where you are looking to access credit, and each hard credit check will impact your score a couple of points. All right, next slide, please. So it is important to pay attention to the information on your credit report. For the last 30 to 40 years, the number has been the same. About 25% of credit reports contain errors. The majority of them are harmless, a misspelled name or an address, but some may signal identity theft or someone else's credit being put on your credit. You are responsible for reporting these errors. Once you dispute something through a credit bureau, they have 30 days to get back to you. If by law they have not gotten back to you within 30 days, you have the right to say, I want whatever I disputed taken off immediately. So in terms of your credit score, they range from 300 to 850. A higher score means you're a lower risk. If you have a higher score, creditors are more willing to work with you, and they're more willing to give you better rates and less fees. All right, Liz, next slide, please. Unfortunately, credit scores are not included with your credit report. You can request your credit score from FICO, the most popular place, but you'll get charged $20 every time you request it. Services like Credit Karma are acceptable as long as you're using the free version. Never pay to use those sites. If you're going to pay, just go pay FICO the $20. Most free credit services only have one or two of your scores, which means they're missing the others. Your credit score is the average of your score from each of those three bureaus. Also, any credit score you see is unlikely to be what a creditor sees. Creditors can request your score be calculated, or the technical term is weighed differently when they pull your credit. So do not be surprised if the credit score you see is not what a creditor says it is. So let's go over some credit tips. The most impactful thing you can do to build your credit is making an on-time monthly payment and doing that month after month after month. That's it. It's you showing you can pay back what you owe on time and doing that for a track record. If you've got a credit card, try not to spend each month more than 30% of what it's worth. The credit world somehow picked 30% as the number, and it to them, if you spend more than 30% of what it's worth, it may seem like you're a little too reliant on that credit card. And don't close old accounts in good standing just because something new comes along. The minute you close an old But positive credit card, remember, you start that 7-year clock on it disappearing forever. Next slide, please. So use credit for something you already cover and pay for. A lot of people get into trouble with credit when they use it on something they already could not afford. Beware of that store credit card. They like to offer these cards around the holidays with a certain discount for shopping at their store. But they are actually predatory products, because what they're hoping is with the holiday spending, you are tapped out and can't make that first monthly payment, and then the interest hits and they make even more money. Also, that 0% credit card is too good to be true. Oh, hold on a second, Liz. The 0% card is a new tactic to get people to switch over if they've got credit card debt. They're going to say, switch that debt over, no interest is going to hit it. But they still need to make money. So any purchases you make will get hit with the regular interest rate. And if you're late just one time, everything gets hit with the normal interest rate. All right, Liz, we can go to the next slide for a quick break, I believe, for Q&A.
Thanks, Joey. So I'll ask Aaron and Lacey if there are any questions that have come through in the chat that we could answer.
Joseph,
Yeah.
I did see one that was talking about the weighted credit card or credit score, something like that.
Yes.
Can you elaborate a little bit more about that? That's what I was
Okay,
wondering
so-
myself.
So there's a generic credit score formula. We do not actually know how it's calculated. It is under lock and key. But for instance, let's say it is 50% or half how you've paid off credit cards and half how you've paid off loans. So it's 50-50 that way. Well, if you come to me for a car loan, I may go to the credit bureaus and say, this person wants a loan. So I want to instead calculate that 70% how they paid back loans and only 30% how they paid off their credit cards. So creditors can request your score be calculated differently based off what you are requesting. Hopefully that answered it.
Are
So-
there any other questions?
There are, Liz. We've tried to answer them as we go, but
Sure.
two that have come in that we haven't yet answered. One is, if you don't use your credit card much, will it affect your credit negatively?
Sure. So you do ideally want to use your credit card at least once a month. As long as you pay back what you purchased, that's all that matters. Now, it looks terrible, though, if your credit card gets closed for what's called inactivity, which means you didn't use it enough. Normally, most contracts for credit cards will state if you don't use the card over a 3-month time period, they reserve the right to close it. And that's called inactivity, and that looks bad on your credit report. So you can use your credit card once a month, and as long as you pay it off, you're fine. But don't let the credit card get closed because you didn't use it.
Thanks, Joey. And one more, not to put you on the spot, and I don't know if you'll know this one, but someone asked, is it possible to opt out of LexisNexis? Are you familiar with that?
I unfortunately am not. So
Okay.
I apologize to that person that is outside my area of knowledge and expertise.
Yep, that's okay. I said that too. And Karen, you sent that in. We will dig into that a little
And I
bit
did just
for
see
you.
one come in the chat real quick. Does having it closed for inactivity look any different from a credit card being closed for any other reason? So anytime a line of credit is closed, your credit will take a temporary hit. Whether it's you closing it by paying it off, you just closing a credit card, or for it being closed for inactivity. But if you pay it off or close it, it does not hurt your credit as much as if it were closed for not being used. One of my favorite comparisons is the credit world thinks credit is God's greatest gift to mankind. And you having a credit card closed for not using it looks terrible because you didn't use that gift. So hopefully that cleared that up.
Great. The only other thing I would say at this point is that our next workshop is going to be on October 4th, and it is specifically on saving for the future without jeopardizing benefits. So it will specifically talk about saving opportunities for people with disabilities, including what Joey talked about, able accounts, stable accounts, but also trusts that people can open, people who have disabilities. There are first-party trusts and third-party trusts for which you'll need an attorney, and pooled trusts. So if you're interested in learning more details about saving and not jeopardizing your benefits or being taxed for your savings, then join us on October 4th. And the only other thing I'll say I saw come through the chat was that and I don't know if this is true, and Joey, you might have to pop back on, but someone kindly let us know that the ABLE account limit for being available only for people who had a disabling condition before the age of 26 is going to go up to 46. Is it next year?
We just had this discussion a couple weeks ago.
Gonna be 2026.
2025.
That sounds
Right.
correct.
Okay.
There you go.
2025, 2026. It's like 2 years from now, though. I know
Yep.
that.
Okay.
But
Well,
it is on the way.
all right, great. So thanks, Joey. We're going to move on to our next topics of budgeting and managing debt. And Shavonda is going to lead us through that discussion. Shavonda Pasha is a financial coach with the Louisville Metro Office of Financial Empowerment. She also is an Air Force veteran. She believes that financial empowerment is best achieved through honest conversations in
Elizabeth,
which she.
hi, how are you?
Okay, well, so Shavonda.
Hold on a
believe-
second. Are you still there? I'm trying to stop this Zoom thing.
Okay,
I guess I have
let's. Can someone mute? Okay, sorry about that, folks. Shavonda, all right, now I'm going to finish this sentence. So Shavonda believes that financial empowerment is best achieved through honest conversation in which she continuously relates to her clients from her own personal experiences with financial growth. Shavonda is a certified credit counselor and member of the National Association of Certified Credit Counselors. Shavonda, take it away.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. I have my fans already started. Did you hear them yelling out for me? That was fans right there. How's everybody doing? I'm coming behind a tough act right now. Joseph is probably one of the best presenters there is, and now you get me. I'm pretty good too, but slides is not my jam, but we're gonna go for it. So let's get right into it. We got budgeting. I call it the dreaded B word. And no one loves or likes budgeting. Um, it makes you automatically, when you hear budgeting, it makes you think of something negative, right? You don't really associate anything positive with telling yourself, I can't do this or I can't do that with my money. So when you first think of budgeting, you go, man, I got to make money, spend the money, and then try to figure out where in the world did my money go, right? So that's what they call the ready, fire, and aim approach to budgeting. And budgeting is pretty simple. You just got to figure out where your money went, how it got there. And the best way to do that is make a budget and stick to it. And that's constantly evolving, right? You don't just make a budget in 2022 and think it's going to be the same in 2032, right? Because things are constantly changing. The price of eggs is not the same as it is now versus what it was 10 years ago. So things are constantly changing. So you constantly have to update your budget. So some of the first steps would be to track your spending. And I love doing this. I do it in my home every day. I do it with the clients that I work with each day. You have to track your spending, and you're going to do it for 30 days, or like it says here, for an entire pay period. And once you do it for those full 30 days, you're going to be able to see what are my habits? What am I actually doing with my money? What I found about myself is my coffee problem, my Starbucks issue, right? We all have a thing. And once you start realizing, man, I actually go to Starbucks 3 to 4 times a week, and you start seeing, oh, I'm short on my rent this month, or I don't know exactly how I'm going to pay my LG&E this month. But then you went to Starbucks and spent $30 in 1 week. That adds up. It's usually about 4 weeks in a month, right? Let's do that math. That's your LG&E bill right there. Um, so you find those habits. You start seeing that overspending that you've done. And then once you look at the 30 days, all the different transactions, then you see, was that a need or was that a want? And you have to look at the difference. Food, that's a need. I mean, yeah, that's a need. Clothing, that's a need. McDonald's, probably a want. Starbucks, sometimes it's a need for me, but 4, 5 times a week, it starts teeter-totting to a want, okay? And then you have to look at how many purchases are actually planned, right? Did I knew that I was going to go to the movies this day. I knew I was going to go to these concerts. I didn't know I was going to get a flat tire. So kind of look at what's planned in your life. And there's an actual website here, www.mint.com. This is a good resource that you can kind of track um, your spending, and it's free. Okay, next slide, please. So when I think of budgeting, also budgeting is your income minus your expenses, okay? So you got to look at what are expenses. You're going to have your fixed, your variable, and your periodic. So your fixed income, that's the things that's not going to change, which we wish they could, but unfortunately they won't. Okay. Your mortgage or your rent, that's usually about the same amount each month, your car payment and your car insurance. Now, things that usually do change. Um, you got your groceries. I wish that we can go in every month and your grocery, it's going to be $200 every single 2 weeks or something. But things change. Gas, entertainment, things like that. These are things that prices are not consistent. Um, and these are hard to budget due to its constant change, okay? And then we also have to always ensure that we include these type of amounts for different expenses that's going to be changing throughout the year. So we got doctor's visits. We know our back to school stuff each year. What else? Tires. We might need new tires for our car, glasses for our kids or for ourselves. Just different things that's going to come up here and there, but not every single month, not a fixed amount. Next slide, please. So when you think about budgeting, let's think of some strategies that come with budgeting. And right here, like to call that the four walls. So you have your food, your shelter, your clothing, and your transportation, your main things, okay? And you got some other top focuses, which would be your job, of course, your transportation to get to your job, the clothing, childcare, insurance, and obligations like your credit cards and child support. And I love the four walls thing because I always say you got to have a roof over your head, right? You got to have your food. You got to have a way to get to the money so that you can have all those things um, as far as the food, the shelter. So that all works out in that one big four wall concept. Okay. Next slide. So here's some other strategies. You got stuff in the envelope. And I like this one. I don't know if people watch TikTok, I'm into this. I got some young girls, right? So you got this new stuff in the envelope thing. So you're kind of budgeting versus different categories. You can sorry, figure out which thing you want to save for and just shove that money in there and save for different events. There's also a cash-based envelope system that Dave Ramsey created. And when you get paid, you take your certain expenses and you're going to name those different accounts or different envelopes so you know that this is your utility bill envelope, this is your grocery bill envelope, this is your entertainment bill envelope, and that money is in those things. So when that envelope is empty and you're done with that for the month, that category is over. But what I've been seeing that's kind of the new trend is, say you want to save $500 for that month, you label those envelopes in certain dollar amounts. So whenever you get paid or whenever you get a few extra dollars, you're going to put that amount of dollars in those labeled envelopes. And you keep that until you save that amount of money. I think that's a great concept. It's still good to put in banks. I know Joseph is probably going to wring my neck because he's like, Shavonda, put it in the bank. But for some saving and for some budgeting, if you have to have something, a goal to keep, do what you have to do to save your money, to keep that budgeting strategy. Do whatever it takes. I believe in it. So let's just check out some different trends that's happening. Get your kids involved, get your family involved. I think it's a great idea. Okay. Next slide. Oh, we'll stay right here. You also have the 50, 30, 20 strategy. So, if you have an income of $2,000, you break that down. 50% of that is going to go to your necessities. So that's $1,000. 30% of that 2,000 is going to go to your wants. And then 20% of that is going to go to paying off your debts. Simple as that, 50, 30, 20. Next slide. So for your budgeting strategies, like I said before, it's basically that income minus expenses. Now, after you do all your income, you're gonna write your income amount. If you make $1,000 a month, right? And you subtract that from your expenses. Say your expenses only was $600. So you have $400 left. That means you are in the black. I like to call it the green, but right here it says in the black. So what are you going to do with that extra money? No, we're not going to go buy a big screen TV. Okay. We're going to put that towards savings. We're going to put that towards um, s- paying off debt. Yeah, you can treat yourself, but let's make the main thing the main thing. Okay. Next slide. Now, sometimes that number is flipped. Sometimes your expenses is more than your income. So basically, you're paying out more than you're bringing in. And that's called being in the red. And it's not always bad. It happens. I've had it happen. And sometimes you just have to kind of figure it out. You look at that spending tracker, you start seeing where you're at. You start looking at those wants and needs. You go back and you're like, oh, Starbucks again. I realized I went a little too hard this week. I went out to lunch a little too much with my coworkers. Or, I indulged a little bit in some things that I probably didn't need to do. Um, it's just different things, but you have to always tweak your your budget to fit what your needs are. If you see that you went a little over this month or this week, just go back and constantly make changes until you're where you need to be. It's not always going to be right that first month. You might need to make a change. It might take 3 months to get your budget the way that you need it to be. Here's a fact right here. A recent report found out that on average that people eat 83 meals out a year, and that figure climbs to about 220 when you add in fast food. The number one bill that has been cutting out of their budget, which is cable, which is good because a lot of people have been getting just Wi-Fi, getting some of these different things that you can buy off Amazon, and that $200 cable bill is gone and you're replacing it with a $50 Wi-Fi bill. That's major for some households, okay? Um, you can look for ways to make your bills work for you. Some things that a lot of bill individuals are allowing you to do is reschedule those payment dates. You can sometimes do it at least once. So if your mortgage is due on the 5th, and your car payment is due on the 5th, you might be able to let your mortgage stay on the 5th, but schedule your car payment to come out on the 16th to give you another 2-week window so it can fall on another pay period. So you're not having two things due the same time of the same month. What I like to tell my clients is that if your car payment is 400 and your mortgage is 900, you take that, add it together, divide it by 2, and then every 2 weeks take that money that's split in half and put that into a bill account. Open up a bill account and put that in there every 2 weeks. That way, at the end of the month, you have the full month's worth of rent or mortgage in your car payment. And you'll be amazed that, okay, this major thing is taken care of. And then there's a lot of programs in city. We here in Louisville, we have LIHEAP. Sometimes we have rental assistance. We can figure the other smaller things out, right? We can budget that, we can figure it out, but the main thing is being taken care of. That's what I do in my household. A lot of my coworkers here, they do it just from me talking to them, and it changes lives. Okay, next slide, please. Um, Here I go. Your budget may not work the first month. It might take 3 months to get it right. So remember that you're not failing. Budget is about not doing something right and fixing it. Just keep making tweaks. Keep fixing it until it works for you. Why some budgets don't work? Oh, go back. Why budgets don't work. We leave things out. Um, we don't think about our all of our subscriptions. That's some of the main things. Netflix, Hulu's, the grass cutting person, little small minor things that add up. Don't overcomplicate. Um, and you don't actually do it or actually live on it. It's always ready to be changed. Okay. Next slide. Keep on going. So debt. We have good debt and bad debt. Good debt, even though we think of credit and things like that to be like, oh, that's bad. But credit can be good and bad. Credit cards, as long as they're used right, that can be good for you. But when we're not making our minimum payments on time, and we're just getting it and we have no plan of paying it off in the future, that can be bad. Okay. Mortgage payments, that's good. That's good debt. Paying your mortgage not on time, bad debt, of course. Next slide. Here's some ways to pay off debt, which I never knew about until we started teaching some of these classes, and I think it's amazing. You got the debt snowball. So basically what you do, if you have 6 things that you need to pay on, right? You're going to list them smallest to largest based on the balance, okay? You're going to pay all your minimums, okay? But that one with the smallest balance, after you've paid all your minimums and of course all your bills, anything that you have that was left over, if you already in the black, remember that we talked about in the budget, you're in the black and you have that residual money, you're going to throw everything you can at that top bill after you paid your minimum. And you're going to keep doing that each cycle until that small one is paid off. And then boom, you check that off the list and you go to the next one. And you keep doing it until you've marked everything off the list. Now, it's a faster process, of course, but you may pay more and you may pay more in interest, okay? Next slide. Another way is the high interest rate method. Kind of the same thing, but you're going to put your debts in order from highest interest rate to lowest interest rate. Do the same thing. Make sure you're still paying your bills and you're going to start at that top. You're still going to make your minimums. You're still going to be in the black and you're going to throw everything at that top one and do the same thing. And you're going to save money by paying less interest, but it's going to feel like you're making it's going to be slower because again, you're starting with that highest interest rate. It's just going to seem like you're turtle paying. So next slide. Thank you. So for debt collections, how many, I know I can't say how many people because we're all on mute, but I know there's some people out there that get those phone calls when we're not able to pay, right? Or when you've had some moments where you just kind of get behind. We all get behind. Well, the Fair Debt Collections Practice Act, it prohibits those folks from calling you with that abusive, just horrible practices trying to collect debts from you. So remember, they can't harass you. They can't make you feel horrible. I mean, they can, but it's not right. Okay. They can only contact you between 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. They're not supposed to call you at work. And they can't run around telling you lies, saying they're going to come and have you arrested. It's just not right. And it's not true. Next slide, please. So this is how you handle the debt collectors. You're gonna do when they call you and you don't think it's right or you think it's just they're just talking out the side of their necks, right? You're gonna say, hey, can you send me a written letter with proof of this debt, please? And they're gonna say, well, why? I don't have to do that. And you're gonna say, well, because debt is brought and sold daily without my knowledge and it's just passed to anybody. So if they can't do that, then so be it. But if they need to show you proof. So these are things that you can ask for. You can ask them to stop contacting you, except when it's time to go to court. Okay. You can get lawyers involved and you can report them. And those are a few agencies that you can report them to. Look them up online, get the addresses, do your part. Okay. Next slide, please. And now we're going straight into our resources. And man, we have a lot. We have our local resources here in Louisville, Kentucky. Of course, Joseph Cecil talked about Bank on Louisville. This is the website there, bankonlouisville.org. And of course, he's been doing an amazing job with Bank On so far. We are not a bank, but we partner with different banks to give you some amazing products here in Louisville. We have a no-cost financial coaching and counseling resource here. Thank you, Aaron, with the Louisville Financial Empowerment Center, which is the FEC. They are accepting appointments every day, all day. We have a prize in somebody I worked with. When they did the introduction, they talked about how I kind of love coaching because of what I've been through personally. That's who I use, worked with them for a year, and now I'm a homeowner myself. So kudos to a prizing. And of course, you have the best financial empowerment team in the world, Louisville Metro Office of Financial Empowerment. You have coaches there. We work with our clients one-on-one and give them the best resources and work with them and make them great every day. Click on that link, make an appointment, and ask for Joseph, Shavonda, or Joey. Or Joy Boyd, sorry. Of course, you got the Kentucky stable accounts. I can't see that because of, and that's www.stablekentucky.com. And that's just a tax advantage savings accounts for individuals with disabilities and their families. Next slide, please. And I'm going to go ahead and throw it over to the amazing. She taught me everything I know about the National Disability Institute and how to help people with disabilities, Nancy Boutot with India.
Thanks,
Thank you
Shavonda.
very much.
Nope, go ahead, Nancy. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Shavonda. You're wonderful. You and Joey, great presentations. So other than some of the local resources, I just wanted to give you some national resources as well for you to kind of have in your toolkit. Oh, if we can go back one slide, please. Sorry about that. Great. So as I kind of mentioned a little bit before, we have a lot of information on our website. A lot of information that's dedicated to improving the financial wellness of people across the spectrum of disability. And we have a lot of free tools on financial education, financial capability, financial wellness, and financial empowerment. So if you go to NDI's website and go to our financial wellness or financial capability pages, you'll find lots of free tools and resources that you can use. And I saw that Liz just put that in chat too. Thank you, Liz. And we can go on to the next slide. And Shavonda said everything that she learned from me, but really she learned it from this course. So I wanted to let everybody know about this course. It's called the Effective Financial Counseling for People Receiving Social Security Disability Benefits. And the goal is to equip individuals with knowledge, tools, and resources to offer financial counseling at the intersection of where public benefits like SSI and SSDI impact the financial lives of people with disabilities and how you can best support them. So the course is pre-approved for 7 CEUs for AFCPE credits for any of you who are involved with that organization. There's a link for you to go to. You will be getting this presentation. So there's a link right there, or you can just take a picture of that QR code and it'll give you more information about our online classroom. And then we'll go on to one more slide. And I just wanted to give you some national resources as well. So when you get the presentation, you'll be able to click on these links, or you can just Google them. The first is the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, and that provides free access to debt management expertise, resources, and support nationwide. The next is Green Path, which provides free credit counseling and debt counseling. And the last is America Saves, and you can sign up to receive free financial coaching and counseling, at no cost. So you've got some local to Louisville resources, but then you also have some national resources as well. And with that, Liz, I will turn it back over to you. Oh, and I just saw somebody asked if we could put the slide back up with the QR code again. So if we could do that, that would be great. And again, thanks. I'll turn it over to you, Liz. I appreciate everyone's time today.
Great. Thanks, Nancy. Thanks for joining us to give us the national perspective. I want to ask if there are any questions in the chat that Aaron or Lacey have gleaned from it that we could address.
I think we are up to date with questions. We've been throwing a bunch of links in there as folks were presenting, but again, those will also come out with the presentation as well. But no, I do not believe we have any unanswered questions.
Were there any questions that people may not have seen as they were moving through the chat that you would want to share with the group that might be relevant for others?
Sure.
Hi.
Oh, go ahead.
This is Sharon. I have a question. I was just wanting to go back to talking about credit and credit reports, and that was very interesting. Are we able to talk about that? Can you hear me?
Well, it was, did anybody grasp? I found that hard to hear a little bit.
Okay, can you hear me here? It's about credits and credit. Yeah, can you hear me? I will save it for next time.
Well, why don't you email us and then we can answer it, and you know, for you and for everybody else, or you
Can you
can.
put on my headphones?
Did
Maybe you can hear me better now. Can you?
yes.
Okay. So my question was going back to credits and credit reports and credit information. Is there anybody who can talk to that, to answer towards that? Because I just wanted to talk about disputing something on credit reports.
Oh, how to dispute something on a credit report? How to clean it up, basically.
Right. Because if in fact there's something on there that's incorrect.
Right. Joey, I don't know if you can, I'm not sure if he's.
Grilled wild caught? Is it grilled wild caught? Yeah.
So if you ever need to dispute something on a credit report, the bureaus now, they should on their websites have links or portals to where you can dispute any incorrect information.
Okay. In the meantime, and we can, as I said earlier, we are going to, the chat exists after this workshop is over, and we will be able to send questions and answers to everyone. And also if any of you who were unable to put, type your questions into the chat, because that's not available for everyone, then we will answer whatever questions you have and send that out to everybody. I want to make sure that everyone knows about the upcoming workshops we have on two of the topics or one of the topics we touched on, and another topic that I get a lot of questions about from people with disabilities. On October 4th, we're having a more in-depth workshop on saving for the future without jeopardizing Social Security benefits, whether it's Social Security, disability, or SSI. And then Wednesday, October 25th, we're going to talk about working while on benefits and how we can maximize earnings without losing our Social Security, disability, and SSI. That is a complicated topic, but we have an expert who's going to help us walk through that. And then I want to thank our presenters today, Shavonda and Joey and Nancy, as well as our ASL interpreters, Tara and Christina, and our captioner. We will have, I suppose we can make the captioning available too, but anyhow, that has been provided by Laura. And if anyone needs or is interested in contacting these folks because of the excellent job they've done, please also, I'm going to email everybody, but I can also put in the chat, I can't talk and type at the same time. You can reach us at this email, make sure I didn't. And also you can reach us at through the Gathering Strength website. You can contact us through that, and we will respond. And whoops, I've got the chat in my way. I just want to thank everybody for joining us. You can also grab your smartphone and take a picture of that QR code, and that goes to the Gathering Strength website, where you'll find information about all of our classes, not just financial classes. We have exercise, adapted exercise. We have a mindfulness course. We're going to have Know Your Rights to Equal Healthcare Services, which is about the ADA. And also we're going to have a How to Manage Pain class coming up in October. And so check us out. And thank you all for joining us.